Welcome to the Discover Ignite podcast, episode 2, Art of Thought. My name is Marcus. I am your host. And today I have a special episode and one that I think we all need to settle down in and start providing thought to our life. Now, why I believe this to be so important is the fact that a lot of times we are getting slammed with different inputs in our life. And I talk about trying to filter those things in life. Everything that is coming in is essentially typically a thought, an opinion, perspective of other people. We don't typically allow ourselves to really dive deep and determine if this is something that we believe in or if we really truly agree with. Because a lot of times I think we read headlines and we just go with that. We don't actually apply any thought to these new perspectives or ideas, perhaps even weigh pros or cons to these things. And so with that said, I wanted to do an episode on a deep dive of how exactly we can become independent thinkers. Now, I myself, I find this to be truly beneficial because it has helped me solve many problems in my life. And a lot of times I've spent more time over the past couple years answering questions that I wish I would have asked myself many years ago. And in doing this, in realizing that I needed to be more independent thinker and again, filter the input. And why I believe this is so important is because, again, there is a lot of different perspectives and stuff out there that, we may trust in these resources, but we still need to take the time to come up with our own beliefs, our own thoughts, and understand that we do believe the message that is being presented to us. And the more we become in this technology-based world, right, we have to realize that we aren't filtering any of that stuff. A lot of times we'll come home and we'll throw on the TV because we don't want to think. And typically what we don't realize is that input, that visual input we're getting from the TV. And again, depending what you're watching, if you're watching trash TV, right, this is all making an impression on your subconscious. And you more than likely are not shutting off the inputs and spending time each and every day to start thinking about the different thoughts, the different ideas, the different beliefs in your life that are essentially guiding your life to where you are today. And it's in doing this that I have made some dramatic changes in my life. I have changed a lot of different things in my life because of this, because of shutting off the inputs and allowing myself to think deeply about these things and my thoughts, beliefs, and perspectives, and changing that and realizing that they will evolve with the more perspective I get and the more critical thinking that I do. And how important it is to be an independent thinker. And being said, right, I have to realize that we are all wired that we want to be accepted. And so we go with the herd typically because we don't want to be that outcast. We don't want to be that black sheep. We don't want to feel like we are secluded. And, this is one great thing. I had an interview this week with Tony, and he talks about energy and everything like that. And it really got me to think about my energy levels right now, because even right now, my energy levels are extremely high. I'm extremely motivated. I'm very much in flow right now. And I started thinking about energy. And I know I've been talking about, you need to be your biggest hype man. You need to be your best friend. And although those things are true, you still need to realize that, again, not trying to get too scientific here, but you have to realize that, again, we are all made of atoms. We are all made of energy. Everything around us, every person is made of energy. So we are not totally alone, right? You have to realize that I think I'm feeling this even more, that I'm tapping more into this energy level. And that's where all this energy is coming from, because I am soaking in the energy from around me. And I feel, I've noticed this by the more it all started back when I started doing the underdog experiment and I started doing networking. And I found this newfound energy, right? That once I started branching out and talking to more people and, trying to set up interviews and do things that were outside, not so much outside of my comfort zone. I think it was more so the thought, if that was something I just really wanted to do. I wasn't sure. I wasn't fully bought into the thought. And so with that being said, I started doing that. I started pushing that comfort zone for me, and it allowed me to find this newfound energy, because the more I started talking to other people, I was getting more energized. And I'm not at all an extrovert, right? I am very much an introvert. And some people that know me would say that. Some people would probably also say that I was very quiet and shy at some point in my life, which I, again, never believed I was. I've always believed that I've been the person that if you didn't have anything important to say, why say it? But at this point, right, my mindset has changed from that point to where I realize that I have to go out and seek perspective. And you realize that once you do this, right, again, I tapped into this energy in doing this networking, and you find new things. And I realized that my voice matters, right? Everybody's voice matters, right? Everybody has some sort of value. And that's why I again created Discover Ignite, is to help people with their mindset, optimize their mindset, and then show them perspective on how they can ignite change into their life, because there's a lot of things, again, that we don't see. And this, again, all comes back to an important piece, that we have to be independent thinkers. And again, going back to the input and realizing that, yes, I do have Facebook, I have all these things. And what I try to do, because I know that what the input can do to you subconsciously, and being aware of that we don't typically put any kind of filters on a lot of the stuff, a lot of inputs we have. I try to make it educational in a purpose, in an aspect that will allow me to benefit from it in some way, shape, or form. So I don't just put random things out there, but I do add, I do have some funny things. I'm not saying I'm like 110%, gas pedal to the floor kind of person. I'm not that person at all. I do like to have fun. I have fun doing these things. And this is where I get my energy from, is because I have fun along the journey. And I find these new perspectives, these new ideas to be intriguing, and it drives me to want to do more. And then reaching out with other people and networking with other people is even providing me more energy to keep moving and moving. And so in saying that, I think every day it's important, because your feedback loop, which is something I talked about before, is your feedback loop is something that you want to have occurring every single day, right? If that feedback loop can be shorter, then you want to do it. I'm not saying you have to do it every hour, but I'm saying every day is important. You should have those goals, those objectives, those ideas that you nail every day when you're looking for perspective, or you're trying to get out and get physical. I believe it's extremely important to do some kind of physical work every single day, whether that's even just walking. It's extremely important, because it helps flush out a lot of the thoughts and ideas, especially if you are going through something, you're going through some kind of problem in your life. You really want to flush that out. You want to ground yourself. And there's a bunch of different ways to do this. Now, before you unplug, before you go into what I consider your feedback loop in your 30-minute session of just thoughts, you need to ground yourself, right? You need to clear out the thoughts and ideas, whether that's, again, doing some kind of physical activity to try to reduce the stress and the thoughts and the ideas that are going through your head at the time, or doing box breathing technique, or any other kind of breathing technique, meditation, whatever helps ground you to remove or soften a lot of the thoughts that are going through your head at the moment. And going to these sessions, again, you want all notifications, you want everything turned off. You don't want any input, and you want to go into this session. You want to, sometimes it helps. You don't have to. If you have a particular question or a particular problem that you have that you want addressed, you go into the session with that single question. whatever that is. Maybe you're going through a rough relationship. Maybe you're trying to figure out where to get money. Maybe you're trying to figure something out, right? You have an issue. Bring that into your session. You're going to unplug from everything. You're going to sit in a quiet place. You're going to close your eyes, because your eyes is just another input, right? It's another sensory that, it takes a lot for the eyes to function. So if you can shut off one more input and allow yourself to think, you realize that you come up with, this is where you can find a lot of creativity, right? If you go throughout your day looking for that perspective and those experiences throughout your day, like I talk about all the time, and whether you get that through reading, or perhaps just driving a different way to work, or perhaps going out and doing something physical that was completely different. In doing this, you realize that when you come to this session, right, you're bringing new perspective, you're bringing new opinions, thoughts, and ideas into this session. And this is where the critical thinking is, and being an independent thinker is important, because when you go into the session, you want to sit there and you're going to, although you have buffered out some of the thoughts, maybe the negative thoughts or the stresses of the day, right, you're still going to have thoughts. And I even found this for myself a lot of times coming into this, is that I still have some of the daily thoughts in there. And so I find the first 10 minutes will typically still have a lot of that thought I'm trying to work through. So to work through those thoughts, you have your eyes closed, you're sitting in a quiet place, and you have to, these thoughts that come in, you just got to kind of let them go, right? Just try to concentrate on that question that you have, right, going into it. And then about, 2 minutes or so in, I don't even think about the question anymore. I just let the daily thoughts come in, because, your brain's got to let these thoughts come through. First of all, it's got to clean out the garbage, right? So you got to let it give it that 10-minute window, kind of just let it all clean out. And then you realize you get to a point to where you're not really thinking as much. And this does take effort. This does take time. It took me a long time to do this. But what I found is, if you dedicate time each and every day to do this, it'll eventually become the norm, and your body will get used to it. Your body will adjust, right? You are conditioned in a way, again, I talk about this, you are conditioned in a way to where you don't typically do this. So it will be hard initially, but continue to do it, continue to put in the effort every day, and this will become your new norm. And you realize that your independent thinking will be something that you truly cherish, because it gives you thoughts and ideas that you didn't even realize you had. It gives you a creative aspect that you didn't even think you had. And again, this is something I tap into, something that I love, because it gives me things that I didn't even know was inside my head. And when you're getting these perspectives, these ideas, or reading a different book that you don't typically read, right? You're ingesting good information. That's what's important. You try to ingest good information. So when you come into the session, you have different thoughts and ideas that are rolling around in there. And so again, you get that 10-minute first window, and then after that, it just kind of, you start just getting like random thoughts about different things. And typically, if it doesn't relate to the question I have, or if it's not a good idea, I kind of just let it go. And you do this, right? You got to be aware of the thoughts that are coming into your mind. And this does take practice. It took me a long time. Again, when I first started, I couldn't sit longer than 10 minutes. 2 minutes seemed like it took forever. But again, it took me the dedication to get to where I am at this point. And so with that being said, so you're sitting there, and then I find the longer you can go, the more creative your brain will get. And this is what is amazing. I've gotten up to 2 hours. Now, I haven't done 2 hours as of late. My sessions are normally just 30 minutes now, because I find after about like 20 minutes, I start getting some really creative ideas. I start really getting some really good thoughts behind the problem or the question I had coming into it. And at that point, I kind of let that thought develop. I kind of let that thought evolve. And then when that thought and idea starts developing, then I start to look at it, the pros and cons. What, if it's a particular problem, what are the pros and cons? What can I look at? And then you start thinking about the different resources you can use to perhaps solve your problem, or that perspective that you had throughout the day that you think was unrelated at all to your problem, that maybe there's actual solution in that perspective I had today. And then you realize that, I talk about this frequency bias all the time. This is where that frequency bias comes in, because you realize that you start connecting with that pattern because you've put thought behind it. And if you're not putting thought behind it, you're not using this frequency bias, which your brain loves the patterns and likes to find patterns. And this is, again, what is so critical about the independent thinker, because you tap into new patterns, which provide you new opportunities. And you realize that that problem, that issue that seems so big before, it seems so minute. And then the only thing you have to do from this point is to execute on it and watch it work its magic. Now, again, there's a lot of different things that come into play here. And this is why on my first episode, I talked about it's always important to try to get people to take action on things. And that goes into the whole other realm of being fearful of the uncertain. But the quicker you can get over being fearful of the uncertainty, the quicker you can take action. And then when you come into this episode talking about critical thinking, being an independent thinker, you realize that, man, there's nothing really holding me back. I'm over that fear. I'm over that uncertainty. And now I could start thinking completely different, start thinking in creative ways. And they are my own thoughts, my own ideas, my own beliefs. And I can just start executing on these things. And this is what excites me, is because you start getting in this flow, and then you get excited because you realize what you are capable of when you become that independent thinker. And by tapping into this, it does take time. I'm not going to lie, it does take time, because again, when I first started just doing like meditation and trying to get grounded, it took time. But I dedicated 6 months. I told myself 6 months, no matter what, no matter how painful it was going to be, I was going to do it no matter what. Did it take 6 months for me to get that far? No, I was starting to see results after a week or 2 weeks. Were they big results? No, they were small, compounded efforts on my behalf, but I was seeing the progress, right? You just got to look, like my friend Tony talked about on that episode, the episode of Discover Possibilities, right? Is that sliver of hope. You find that sliver of hope and you build off of that. It's like the butterfly effect. Once you have that one little thought, right, you can develop it by getting over the fear and realize uncertainty is everywhere. There is nothing, absolutely nothing guaranteed except the now and the fact that you can change your life at any moment because you are only in the now. There is no future, there is no past, there is only now. And you can change it by generating these thoughts and ideas because you took the action to experience new things, to provide yourself new perspective throughout the day, then cleared your calendar for the end of the day to clear out all the garbage that's been going on throughout your day. Come with that question, provide some deep thought about it, and realized, what have I been stressing over? This isn't nowhere near as bad as I thought it was. And this is why it is so critical to understand. A lot of people talk so negative about themselves, especially if you're coming from an environment that is extremely negative. There's some other things that need to be worked out there, but you have to realize that your talk, the way you talk to yourself, should be in such a positive manner, because you have to realize that you are gifted with the tools that you need. You don't need any other additional tools. You have the tools inside you. Do you need guidance? Yes, I think we all need guidance from the people that have done it, right? And lived through those experiences, through those perspectives to help guide us. We can get there quicker by doing this. I have gotten there quicker by seeking the knowledge. But ultimately, you have to put in the work, the effort to get there still. No one's going to magically give you a pill and then you just get it. But if you can become the independent thinker, you realize that you've tapped into a potential that can help you solve any other problem. If you're seeking perspective, if you're living through different experiences, and then come into these sessions looking to answer a question, you will find that somewhere deep down in there, it will show its face. It will show its hand. And then you will be so excited that you have tapped into something that you didn't realize was there. And this, for myself, it took me a long time to realize this. Yes, I've done some critical thinking in my life, but nowhere near as in depth as I have over the past couple years. Only because I was unaware of it. And all it took was a thought, an idea, a perspective of someone that I followed. Because I was curious. I wanted to know more. And I took the action. I found a new perspective that shed a lot of light on some things. And from that point forward, life has never been the same. And that's why I try to teach perspective. That's why I try to teach all these, about the mindset and about optimizing that mindset. Because once these thoughts and these ideas, you realize that you have the power within the mindset to do it. And then how do you optimize your mindset? There's other things that come into play, like the foods that you eat. That is the fuel to your mind. That is another input that needs to provide good fuel for the mindset. All these things matter. They matter. And I'm telling you, you get to understand this. You can really find this flow and you get ecstatic. You find the energy that you're looking for. Energy doesn't come in a bottle. You can find some temporary energy, I'll give you that, but nothing permanent. You can't wake up in the morning excited, realizing that, man, I found some perspective yesterday that helped me solve this particular issue. And this issue has been a problem for months. And all it took was some new perspective, me sitting down, clearing my thoughts, spending a little bit of time with those thoughts and ideas, and I discovered a solution to my problem. But you wouldn't know that unless you were given some perspective. I didn't know that until I was given perspective. And this is what is important. So become the critical thinker, become the independent thinker. Spend the time each and every day. I actually saw this particular post that somebody had today, and it was a fantastic post. I love the way she put it. She essentially said, like anything, right? You don't want to go days without showering, right? Because you'll eventually stink. You want to be able to do it each and every day. Now, I probably totally killed that, and I probably did because that's the way I am. But nonetheless, it made perfect sense to me, right? You have to dedicate every day. And I like to relate things to working out, because working out is something that if you don't do it every day, you lose it. The mind, the conditioning of the mind is the same way. You have to do it every single way. And I'm glad that there's more science that's backing this stuff now. I'm glad that there's more people that are open to this stuff. I was closed off to a lot of this stuff. I was what they used to call a realist, that this stuff didn't work, right? You just work hard. But how do you work smarter? By putting in the effort, by becoming an independent thinker, by thinking critically, by determining if those thoughts, ideas, and beliefs are your own, and how so. What are the cons to those thoughts and ideas? What are the pros to those thoughts and ideas? Do they serve you? Do you believe in those? A lot of these things have been conditioned, and we don't want to believe them anymore. But it's going to take critical thought, and it takes critical thought to go back on those thoughts and beliefs that you have, or that were perhaps conditioned in you through family, friends, the different systems that are based around us. And you realize that there's gold to be uncovered there. There's gold nuggets everywhere to be uncovered. And that's the biggest reason why I am doing this. And I've really found the flow into wanting to be driven to educate on the mindset and optimizing it, because the perspective that you gain from this could dramatically change where you're at today. Dramatically. It's dramatically opened my eyes to so many different things. And then I seek more perspective, because what was taught or not taught, there's a reasoning behind it. Can you find the reason? And a good example of this is the electric car, right? Tesla. Not to name drop or anything like that, but right? EVs. Let's think back 100 years ago. We could have been driving EVs 50 years ago. They developed that engine a long time ago. A long time ago. Do your research. Look into your history. There are reasons specific things have fallen off. The reason you're not taught about finances. There's a reason you're not taught about, like, even for me, like plant-based. Maybe people don't like the thought and the idea, right? I'm plant-based for 3 years now. It took me a long time because I didn't come from that environment. I was conditioned to believe, to hunt, right? To be a meat eater, to be a carnivore, right? That this is what we are. Yes, I believe, I'm not saying that it's wrong or incorrect, because that's not what I am. I do plant-based for my health. And I realize that by doing this, right, this is where the whole optimization thing comes in. A lot of the things I do, probably like, I'd probably say like 90-95%, if not 99%, is based off how I feel. It's not how I look. Yeah, that can be a benefit, but it's based off how I feel. And right now I am trying to optimize my brain. And I feel that by doing this, by providing that critical thought, allowing myself to think for myself, I found a flow. I'm finding this new energy that's pushing me, driving me harder with ease. I think that's what a lot of people forget is, at this point, I may see so like fast pace and always working, but it is with ease. I am enjoying this. I like coming on here. I have tons of energy. I want to share the energy. I want you guys to be part of it. I'm trying to get you on board, right? This is what I'm trying to do. And by guiding you how to get there, sometimes you need a compass. Sometimes you're so far off the map that sometimes you just need a little bit of guidance to get you on there, and to believe in the process, the unseen progress that you're making, and realize that critical thinking, independent thinker, to go against the herd sometimes is important, right? Again, going back to the energy, you're not always away. You just probably haven't found your tribe of people. Maybe the current environment, the current people you're around are not suiting you anymore. Maybe you're outgrowing these people. Sometimes you can try to introduce these thoughts and ideas to other people and they won't take to it. So you seek other people, you seek other groups. There is always other people out there. We are all energy, right? Now, again, I know this is so far off kilter, but again, the more and more I do this, the more ecstatic I get, because I feel the way I feel right now is amazing. And yes, there's a lot of things that come into play, and I'm trying to teach and build out every step for you guys and how I'm doing this and how I've built this system to allow me to do that. It is not an overnight success. Nothing is an overnight success. And until you buy into the thought that an overnight success is not going to happen, that uncertainty is okay, then you're unstoppable, right? You go through life in the way you see fit. It's not saying going out and harming people or doing anything like that, or providing bad information or whatever the case is. That's not at all what I'm doing. I'm going off of the way I feel. I am going off of my experiences, my study, and my observations to help you guys get there with me. Because it's an amazing feeling. And I'm coming from a point to where, I woke up every day where my thoughts and my ideas were all clouded. I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know anything. I felt lost. Now I'm just driven. And I can feel it. And the more I buy into it, the more excited I get, the more ecstatic I get, the new perspective I get, the new people I get to meet, the awesome, amazing people I get to meet, the awesome, amazing people that help support me and help drive me. Right? We're all energy. We have to find those people that have our same energy. If you feel like the energy is lacking where you're at, change it. Action. It all evolves around action. Even the independent thinker, you have to take action. The thoughts and ideas, they're there. They're all there. All this information is free. Yes, you need guides to help cipher some of this information and filter it down for you so you can get there at a quicker time frame. But it is all there. And it's just executing on it. And sometimes you have to work on the execution, and that takes time. But it is all in the thought, the idea of being that independent thinker and being okay with that. Stop forgetting about the uncertainty. Uncertainty is always there, whether you want to see it or not, where you not want to tap into that pattern and realize it's there or not. Uncertainty is everywhere. Once you are okay with that, then you can move on, then you can progress. Build the environment that helps you succeed and optimize your thoughts, your ideas. Execute your thoughts and ideas. Find new perspective that gives you purpose in life. Then you lose sense of time and self and tap into that flow. And then you feel like you're on top of the world. And then, right, you're happy. The anxiety, all these other different things that you thought you could never come away from. You start seeing it. You have that sliver of hope. Sliver of hope is all you need. The independent thinker, the thought, the idea. Get your perspective. Do it every single day. Compound those efforts. And you will get there. So thank you guys for joining me, and I will see you guys later.